Type police sandwiched in a live won't make such a big hullabaloo. INFPHD. Alright, I'll guess I'll do a half-ass type police of it. We'll see. I can't I mean, I could do that here, I guess. Okay. Alright then, fine. INFPHD. INFPHD. Videos. INFP body language. My full experience as an INFP in the military. Let's see what he has to say.
Catered that way, and a lot of people on YouTube, I think I'm up to about 9 or 10 types that people think I am. I think when you get to 16, you get like a free toaster or something like that the MBTI.com or whatever it gives you as a prize. But I think a lot of that, again, what I've been to, I know myself. It's whatever. People are gonna make their opinions, especially on a nicely edited YouTube video that does need somewhat of a format to convey, or else it's just a mess, whatever. But again, a lot of that 9 years military SJ kind of world, it doesn't turn you not in.
Okay, well, let me say this right off the bat. Nobody's disputing that you know yourself, INFPHD, but the reason you would likely be wrong about your type is because you don't know cognitive functions. Cognitive functions are comprise an intentional configuration that defines how you habitually approach data in perceiving and judging ways, right? And so the question is, are you an FI Dom? Right off the bat, my inclination is definitely not. And then the second question is, do you display extroverted intuition in the tool function in the second slot? And that's going to display as fairly easy to spot because that corresponds to the SE polar. And it means you're going to have a lot of extended explanations and a lot of tangents, parenthetical divergence, etc., as part of your process of talking things out. If you want to watch a real INFP, watch Dulles. Dulles has some videos up, and you can see the affect that's typical of an INFP in him. So again, the point is, it's not that you don't know yourself, it's that cognitive functions, there are very few people who know them correctly and know how to explain them correctly and understand them correctly. And so it's not your own fault for not gaining that data because it's only really found here. So let's see some more of you. You begin by defending the fact that you're an INFP against people saying you're various types. That's a very FE thing to do.
I had no other plan where I should go. So there was a lot of like, just a big wake up call. And it's just like when I got into the basic training, there was a lot of just, I was an angry teenager. Because again, I was getting bullied all the time, so I was essentially taking it out on my mom and things like that, and like people around me that I was comfortable with. Because I wasn't retaliating at school, I wasn't getting in fights. I just ducked my head down and tried to stay as small as I could the whole time. But I was, in that sense, I was a very disturbed, angry kid, in a sense. I wasn't violent or anything like that, but.
Well, I'm hearing a lot of SI here, as he definitely finds it significant to relate his contextual particulars, right? It may seem like the natural thing to do in a context like this, but actually people who are NI high up in the stack are not going to do that. Regardless, SI third is not inconsistent with somebody prioritizing this kind of SI here. So that's plausible for INFP, the SI being there. But I suspect he's an ISFJ just on my gut instincts here.
I was just always yelling and slamming my door and just very upset. And so, like, there wasn't a whole lot of, I love yous at home. There wasn't a whole lot of appreciation shown towards my mom because nothing really to spend your money on because you're getting free dorms. You're living in the dorms for free. You're kind of like you're kind of like a college kid, but with money. That's the best way for me to describe it. Is that way because a lot of college kids talk about like, oh yeah, I can only afford the cheap beer. We were buying all kinds of stuff. If you're smart about your paychecks, you would save them. But for a lot of people that are whatever new to the adult world, this and that, that's what we spent our money on was drinking, partying, whatever. That's what I did. And again, it also helped me to kind of dull the craziness of being in that SJ type platform of the military in general. Because again, that's the whole thing. It's like, how in the world did you make it? I'm not saying you have to turn into a raging. For me, it's like I see a straight. I'm gonna save them all and just bring them.
Well, I mean, the thing is, the military is an STJ kind of environment. It's not an SJ environment. Uh, yeah, it does prioritize sensing and judging, but that's not meaningfully like informative. It's primarily a TE structured organization. That is to say, there's a lot of protocols, rules, orders of operations that you've got to follow because that's the rule, not because they're trying to take away discretionary decision making by privates, But an ISFJ would certainly be able to make it through a military experience. So would an ISTJ. I'm leaning towards one of those two for this guy.
Cameras with phones and things like that. So I didn't have a lot of big, but I got a picture of like a flight suit or whatever, and I don't know. I got some documentation that was in there, but I so wish I had a phone back then with pictures.
This is really SI heavy. Again, not completely inconsistent with an INFP, but much more consistent with an SI DOM. ISTJ, ISFJ, one of those two seems very likely to me. All of this is SI. Where I was on 9/11, unique experiences I had, deployment to Afghanistan, first base I was stationed at, technical school. The thing is, it is titled My Full Experience as an INFP in the Military, but for an intuitive, that conversation is mostly going to be about the universals, about how I didn't respond well to the structure, for example, because it ran afoul of my value of Mia. And it's not going to be so filled with these kind of particulars. So I think it's very unlikely, because there's almost no analysis in here. Why I decided to get out, I guess might be some analysis. My opinion on the military was good for INFP begins 30 minutes in, after 30 minutes of SI recollections. So very, very unlikely to be an INFP.
My life is that, and I get it. I was there. I had zero idea, like I said in the very beginning of the video. I had no idea what I wanted to do either. But I don't regret for a second my experiences and the time I spent in the military because it gave me certain tools. Again, another reason getting out, I got out as an E5, which is a staff sergeant. I tested 2 times for E6, which was technical sergeant.
All these particular details, crazy. It's so SI, and there's so little meaning making about it. And the confidence that he has that he's INFP is also consistent with an SI DOM. SI is the subjective way of knowing. If you're a subjective knower first, then you don't believe you need to look externally to find out information about yourself. It's the opposite of an NI DOM. An NI DOM like Rachel, she's trying to constantly look to externalities that aren't particularly relevant to her particular experience to explain to her who she is. And that's its own kind of handicap. But the other kind of handicap, SI DOM, thinks that they don't need to be informed at all about who they are by external factors. They're subjective knowers. Fundamentally, they know themselves because that's their dominant function. That's what they think. But of course, it doesn't matter how much you know yourself. If you want to correctly type yourself or be correctly typed, you have to understand what kind of questions and answers link to what functions and be typed properly. And there's not very many people who can do that. So It's not your fault for being wrong, but you are wrong about yourself, and you are hereby under arrest by the type police, and you are going to the slammer. We will try to provide you 3 square meals a day, but if we only remember to give you 2, I don't want to hear any bitching about it. Thanks for watching Talking with Many People. This has been another exciting episode of The Type Police. Try as I might, you just can't hide, 'cause you're mistyped, and I've been waiting to pull you over all night. Type police, please pull that guy over. He says he's INFP, but seems SI to me. Something like that. Yeah, that guy's not an INFP. I mean, there's no way for me to say for sure without typing him, but for the purposes of type police, 0 chance. Like, that's as clear cut a case of somebody not being an INFP as you could possibly find.